Hello everyone, I'm Ai-Jen Cun. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Language Literacy and Sociocultural Studies at the University of New Mexico. Today I'm giving my presentation. This is the title of my presentation. A Burmese family, a confluence of ideas, family literacy and the funds of knowledge. First, I would like to give introduction, so explain why I wanted to do this study. So based on literature review, I found the number of refugee individuals and families moving to the United States had increased between 1980 and 2016. The number of incoming refugee children and their families declined in 2017 due to the US government policy change. However, this decline didn't significantly influence the size of the existing population base. And also literature has examined different kinds of challenges experienced by refugee children and their families during their resettlement in the United States, such as academic challenges and also healthcare needs. When considering these challenges, educational researchers have proposed that refugee children's family literacy, social and cultural capitals, and also funds of knowledge should be valued in school settings to help build school and home connections and also help the students succeed in academic learning in more meaningful ways. This study investigates how members of Burmese family use their funds of knowledge to make their family storybooks, and how this storybook making process shapes this family's literacy learning. This study used two theoretical frameworks. The first one, literacy as a social practice. The second one, funds of knowledge. Literacy as a social practice. Based on his research project in Iran, Brian Street defined literacy not only as the acquisition of skills in formal educational settings, but also a social practice which linked to the attitudes, values, and beliefs of people who use and consider literacy in different ways in their everyday lives. Considering who defines literacy, who uses literacy, these questions helped me understand how the participants, the family, perceived of literacy in their everyday lives. The second framework, funds of knowledge. So funds of knowledge means households' knowledge and the skills that the children developed in their households. And the knowledge and the skills can be beneficial, can be used as resources for children's learning. In this case, this framework used to help identify the family's cultural resources and also their experiences, like life experiences, and also how these resources and experiences were used to help the family to make their own family storybooks. This is the information about the participants. The participants of this study are members of a Burmese refugee family. By the way, I use the word Burma based on the participants' choices and preference. So the family was originally from Burma, but they stayed in a refugee camp for several years before moving to the United States. During the time of data collection, the mother, Nini, was an adult ESL learner. The father worked at the hospital as a janitor. The daughter, Gawa, was a third grader, and Zimin, the son, was a kindergartner. And during the time of data collection in 2018, the family lived in a middle-sized city in the Northeast United States, and the family moved to the United States more than two years ago. And also they speak Burmese as their home language and English is their additional language. They also speak Arabic for religious purposes, like religious practice in the local space. This is the information about data collection. This project used a case study design and also includes the methods of ethnography to investigate participants' interactions in the social and cultural context. This study took place for about 6 months. There were 24 home visits in total with this family, 2 hours for each visit. During each home visit, the family members made their family storybooks together. During each visit, I provided construction paper, markers, and mini binders for the children to create their drawings, writings, and they included their drawings and writings in their storybooks. And during the process, and children were the agents to initiate topics for their storybooks based on their everyday life experiences and also their interest. And during each session, the parents also participated in the sessions, but they more like facilitated the process. And the focal data for this conference session focuses on how the participants drew upon their funds of knowledge to create their family storybooks and how this process shaped their family literacy learning. Data sources included video recordings of family conversations, interviews, field notes, and also artifacts. So the major artifacts are the family storybooks the children made. Semantic analysis was involved in the study. At the beginning of the data analysis, the process, I did data reduction. So I reviewed all data sets and identified the focal data, which was only related to the topic, like funds of knowledge and family literacy, and also the storybook making process. And following this step, I focused on coding, recoding, categorizing, and then generating themes. Based on data analysis, 3 major themes were identified, were generated. Within the first theme, family experiences across global context. The second theme focuses on the family's current life experiences in the United States. And the third theme is about the children's future career dreams and the choices. Within the first theme, the participants positioned themselves as a part of their past experiences with regard to culture, identity, and education. So for example, the daughter Gawa used the flag of Burma. And also later, she also created a drawing, the flag of the United States. So she used 2 flags of the 2 countries to make a representational meaning of their family trips to the United States. During the process, she first spent a few minutes deciding whether she would draw the flag of Burma or the flag of Thailand. A few minutes later, she decided to draw the flag of Burma. So you can see this is the flag of Burma. This is the Gawa's drawing. And she decided to draw the flag of Burma to represent her original nationality. Even though she lived in the refugee camp in Thailand for several years before moving to the United States, she was born in Burma. She conceptualized her home country based on her experience and also her understanding of her birthplace. This is an example of how the children initiated topics for their storybooks based on their experiences. The second theme focuses on the family current life experience. So for example, the boy Zimin created a drawing school bus to represent his schooling experience in the current US city. He first created his drawing based on his experience and also his observation of the school bus that he rides daily to his school. Under his mother's help, Zimin added the words school bus to his drawing to construct the representational meaning, to highlight the meaning. This is a school bus. During the storybook making process, Zimin didn't provide rich descriptions to explain why he drew the school bus to represent his understanding of his schooling experience, his educational experience. However, when I had an informal conversation with Zimin later for member checking, he said that he found that a school bus was only in the United States because there was no school bus in Thailand. So in this example highlights Zimin's transnational identity as someone who was able to explain the difference in terms of education, in terms of daily schooling experience between two countries. It was evident that Zimin connected his drawing, his storybook, and his everyday experience of riding the bus to make special meaning associated with his current life experience, identity, culture, and also education. In addition to the first two things, the third theme was also generated based on data analysis. The third theme focuses on the children's future career dreams and choices. The children liked to share their dreams throughout the study. The parents also liked to encourage their children to talk about their dreams in the future. And the parents also told me they wanted to use this way to encourage their children to study hard. So for example, the parents always said, if you want to be a doctor, you need to study hard. You need to focus on your study every day. And particularly, the participant, one of the children, Gawa, said she wanted to become a doctor in the future several times throughout the study. In a family visit, she chose to create her book chapter, her multimodal artifact to describe her career dream. So you can see this is a drawing included in Gawa's storybook to highlight this is her future career dream. In this case, Gawa positioned herself as a doctor, and she also positioned her mother as a patient. When I asked Gawa who the person on the right side, Gawa said the person on the right side is her mother and also a patient. And the person on the left side is a doctor. And also she imagined this is her, like herself, like in the future. Based on my observation, a conversation with the family, Nini, the mother, told me she suffered from a stomachache every day, and the daughter Gawa witnessed her mother's struggle, which was why she positioned her mother as a patient, and she wanted to become a doctor to help her mom. When I interviewed Nini, she told me that she has always had health issues, and she visits her doctor many times every week. Every month. Sorry, many times every month. Because Gawa understood her mother's struggles, she seemed more determined to set goals for her career dream. So in other words, she said, I want to become a doctor in the future to help my mom. So this is an example how the children decided their storybooks, the topics based on their everyday life experience, and how they drew upon this life experience to create their storybooks, their artifacts. Findings also illustrate that the children and parents used their funds of knowledge to design the topics, their chapters of the storybooks. The storybook making process shaped the family's relationships and also helped the children develop different kinds of literacy in different social contexts. So the findings highlight that the children and the family are experts who brought different kinds of funds of knowledge and life experiences and also literacy capitals to the United States. and they drew upon these resources and experiences to make their storybooks. However, based on literature review, I found in formal educational settings, this knowledge and literacy practice and also their identities are often invisible. So I suggested that schools, teachers, policymakers need to acknowledge the funds of knowledge and the literacy capitals of refugee children and their families, and provide more support for the students, and also empower the families' voices. This is very important. This is a list of references, and thank you everyone for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, and this is my email address. Thank you.